Maeve stared at her freed wrists, unable to process the sudden shift. Only moments ago she'd been dragged across the stones. Now the mountain man, Calder, stood like a wall between her and every hateful eye in the square. The elder stepped forward. You cannot take her. She belongs to her husband. Rowan finally spoke, bitterness thick on his tongue. She's my wife. Calder didn't even look at him. You gave up the right to speak for her the moment you let them do this. Rowan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Maeve waited for fear to come, but instead she felt relief. Even if this man did nothing else, even if he walked away right now, he had stopped the humiliation. He had stopped the breaking. Calder turned to her. Can you walk? She nodded, though her legs trembled. He offered his hand, not forcing, simply waiting. She hesitated only a second before placing her palm against his. His grip was warm and steady, so different from the coldness she had lived with the crowd parting in stunned silence. Calder guided her away from the square. Maeve didn't speak until they were past the last house, where the dirt path met the edge of the forest. Why did you help me? She asked quietly. He didn't stop walking. Because what they did was wrong. That's not reason enough for most people. He glanced at her with unreadable eyes. You're not most people. Maeve looked away, overwhelmed by the simple sincerity of his words. They walked deeper into the forest, the air cooling under the shade of towering pines. Birdsong replaced the noise of the town. Maeve felt like she could breathe for the first time in months. At dusk, they reached a small cabin nestled against the mountainside. Smoke curled gently from its chimney, and the sound of a nearby stream flowed softly through the air. Calder pushed open the door. You can stay here. No one will come. Maeve hesitated. I don't want to cause trouble for you. You won't. She stepped inside. The cabin was warm, lit by a small fire. There were carvings of animals on the walls, a simple wooden table, and a bed covered with thick pelts. It felt safe. Calder handed her a cup of water. You're hurt. Maeve looked down at her scraped knees and bleeding wrists. I'm used to it. You shouldn't be. She swallowed hard. He gently cleaned her wounds, his touch careful. No man had handled her with gentleness in a long time. Rest, he said. You're safe now. Maeve lay on the bed, exhaustion claiming her. As she drifted to sleep, she heard Calder sit near the fire, keeping watch. For the first time in years, she didn't dream of fear, she dreamed of freedom, and a pair of ice-pale eyes that saw her, not as a failure, but as a human being. The morning sun poured through the small window, warming Maeve's face. She opened her eyes slowly, momentarily forgetting where she was. When she remembered, relief washed over her like cool water. Calder stood outside, chopping wood with steady, powerful swings. Every motion looked controlled, purposeful. He noticed her watching and nodded politely before continuing. Maeve stepped outside, the mountain air crisp against her skin. You didn't have to keep watch all night, she said. I don't sleep much, Calder replied. She studied him quietly. There was a sadness in him, not obvious, but present like the lowest note in a song. You saved me yesterday, Maeve said. They were going to shame me, maybe worse. His jaw tightened. People fear what they don't understand. Cruelty makes them feel strong. Did someone do that to you? She asked softly. Calder paused mid-swing. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. My family, he said finally, lowering the axe. There was a storm. A flash flood. I couldn't reach them in time. Maeve's heart clenched. I'm so sorry. I came here to be somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one asked me to carry more than I could. And yet you helped me. Calder looked at her fully then. Some people are worth carrying. Maeve felt warmth bloom in her chest, fragile and unfamiliar. Days passed in a gentle rhythm. Calder taught her how to gather herbs, how to read the movement of the forest, how to mend torn clothing and split logs without injuring herself. She helped him cook, cleaned the cabin, and filled the silence with soft humming as she worked. Slowly, the heaviness in her heart began lifting. One evening, they sat by the fire, sharing stew. Maeve stared into the flames before speaking. People think infertility is a curse, she said. As if being unable to have a child makes me less of a woman. You are not less, Calder said firmly. Not in any way. No one ever said that to me. Then no one ever truly saw you. A tear slipped down her cheek. Calder reached out, gently brushing it away with his thumb. The touch lingered, warm and steady. You deserve a life where you're not punished for simply being human, he murmured. Maeve's voice trembled. What do you see when you look at me? He didn't hesitate. Strength. Patience. Kindness. And someone who still tries to be gentle in a world that wasn't gentle back. Maeve swallowed hard. And what do you want for yourself? Calder exhaled slowly. A chance to stop grieving alone. Silence stretched between them, soft, hopeful. Then, just as Maeve opened her mouth to speak, branches cracked outside. Heavy footsteps approached the cabin. Rowan, and half the town behind him. Maeve's breath hitched. Calder rose immediately, placing himself between her and the door. You won't touch her, he said, voice low and deadly calm. The elder sneered. She belongs to us. She is a lesson to other women. Calder stepped forward, and the elder stumbled back. She is not property, Calder growled. And she is not yours to hurt. Rowan's face twisted with envy and shame. She's my wife. Then why, Calder asked, does she look at me with more trust in 2 weeks than she ever did with you in years? The crowd murmured. Rowan's rage spilled over as he lunged forward, but Calder caught him effortlessly, pinning him to the ground with a single hand. You will not drag her again, Calder said. Not through the square. Not through the dirt. Not through life. Maeve stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. I am done belonging to people who break me. The elder opened his mouth to protest, but the crowd, shaken by Calder's words, by Maeve's courage, began to shift uneasily. Some turned away. Others murmured that maybe they had been wrong. For the first time, Rowan looked small. Powerless, Maeve held her head high. I choose my own life now. Calder released Rowan and walked back to her side. The crowd slowly dispersed, their certainty crumbling like old stone. When the last of them was gone, Maeve exhaled shakily. Calder turned to her, gently brushing her hair back. You were brave, he said quietly. I wasn't alone. They stood together in the doorway of the cabin, the mountain wind cool, the fire inside warm, and the future stretching wide open. Maeve took his hand, and for the first time in her life, she chose herself, and someone, better. Calder squeezed her fingers softly. Welcome home, he whispered, and Maeve knew she finally was.